go ahead and get started because we have a great speaker today. We want to get started on time to have maximum time. So my name is Jennifer Dill. I'm faculty here at Urban Studies and Planning, and also director of Utrecht. And I, along with my colleague, Professor Christopher Monsieur in Civil Engineering, are helping co-organize this seminar for this term. So welcome, everyone. We have some perhaps new faces. I want to remind everyone that we do webcast these seminars, so there are people watching live on the web. When we get to the point where you get to ask questions, we want you to use the microphones that are on most of the tables. Hold the touch button down, keep the red light lit while you ask your question. If it's not working or if you don't have one of us will come around with this handy-dandy portable mic to make sure that everyone watching can hear your question. So today's speaker that we have is a very special guest, and the reason he came here, this has been a collaborative effort between Utrecht at PSU, the University of Oregon, and the City of Portland to get our speaker here today. And we are all about collaboration here at Utrecht, and I think this is a great example. I'm going to turn it over to Greg Raceman from the City of Portland, who was instrumental in making this happen. So he's going to tell you about our speaker, then we're going to launch into the talk.
Hi, my name is Greg Raceman. I'm a traffic safety specialist with the Portland Bureau of Transportation. And a couple of years ago, I was in Utrecht for the second time. And I went by myself because I wanted to do a study tour about residential traffic calming, because we were gearing up to build our neighborhood greenway network and wanted to learn from some of the best residential traffic calming systems in the world. And Utrecht was really interesting to me because they actually have things like neighborhoods with grid-oriented streets. They're not just all there's parts of their city that are kind of old street systems, but some newer ones that are actually grids where they've done some really interesting residential traffic calming. And so I went to Utrecht and spent a few days, and we began sharing information back and forth since then. And one of the people I met was Ronald Tamse, who is a traffic engineer for the city of Utrecht. And Ronald used to work also for the city of Amsterdam as a traffic designer. He worked both in traffic design and helped to design the Amsterdam subway system. In Utrecht, he works on traffic design some, but he also is really an expert on light rail and has been creating the first school zones in the Netherlands and is the program manager for their school safety program, and really is just a all-around expert on traffic safety in cities, and really we've been sharing a lot about ideas we can learn from each other. And so I'm really excited to have Ronald share some of his experience in Utrecht that perhaps would be interesting for us in Portland as we're trying to really make our city a great one for walking and biking. So without further ado, thanks for being here, Ronald, and look forward to hearing from you.
Okay.
Now you're just...
Now my first question is that microphone working? I believe so. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for introducing me. Even more, thank you for inviting me. This is not an everyday occasion for me to travel to the United States and be able to not only tell a story about the situation I see on a daily basis, but more important for me to exchange all kind of ideas. I had several meetings last couple of days, and to be honest, it starts to become more and more interesting because I build up my knowledge of the situation here in Portland a bit, and then it starts to become more even or more easy to exchange ideas and to try to understand the situation of the city of Portland. So far I have a wonderful trip. I had a problem with the presentation. I understood it is limited till 1 hour, and actually my major problem is I could talk with you for hours about whatever. So what I did is I made a presentation for about 3 hours with all kind of subjects in it, and decided I can go to either two solutions, or I take out all the details of the several subjects and tell you a bit of an average story, or I skip just some chapters and remain it to two interesting subjects, hopefully interesting for you, and tell almost everything about it. Well, you might understood I choose for the last one. So my presentation is about creating a balanced transport system, but it's limited to only two subjects, which isn't saying that I'm not willing to answer questions and have discussions about everything related to this subject, but I'm focusing on two specific subjects. Usually, when I'm abroad, I travel Europe a lot. I start with this phrase done by a mayor of the city of Stuttgart in Germany. You must realize that Stuttgart on a European scale is a real car city. They have the factory of the Porsche cars in their boundaries and of the BMW. So it's a really on car-orientated city. And still, the mayor of this city was able to tell this to his audience 2 years ago on his opening speech during a Cities for Mobility Congress. And I'm so glad that the more and more the people who are involved in the major decisions, the politicians, for instance, starts to realize the way we are doing it so far, not only in the United States, not only in Europe, but on the globe, it's not the best solution to continue. We might consider to change our ideas of how to transport to another kind of system. Very often, the Netherlands is looked as an example where we are developing this system for sustainable transport in a very good way. Don't forget, during my presentation, the Netherlands is not the USA, any other way around. I try to explain why we have this system with which most people from abroad like so much. The system with cycling, this system with public transport. But there is so much to know why we made these choices in the past that don't judge us only on, wow, everything is fantastic in your country. There are reasons for it. Interesting is, to my opinion, and that's why I explained to you that my trip to Portland starts to become more interesting every day. There's also your own local situation. This is already something I wanted to say before I start the whole presentation. This is what I will be talking about when I had the 3 hours. What I will do is only focus on integrating the bicycle and cycling an average bicycle route in my city. And of course, there's a short introduction about where I come from. I'll start with the introduction. You all know the Netherlands. We have these mills for our water management. We have our architecture, city of Amsterdam, our transportation, and as you might know, we have the color orange. Any ID, take a look at the flag, which is on top. There's no orange in it. Why is the color orange still that important in the Netherlands? Any ID, just for the fun. No. The royal family. Part of our royal family, long time ago, came from the small city of Orange in France. That's why we adapt the color. In the past, there was no red in the flag, but orange. Okay, so this is the Netherlands. Or this is the Netherlands. We're just a normal modern country. Nowadays, this is our water management. We have major problems with battling the sea, where, as you might know, for a big part below sea level. And this is an ongoing struggle because we need space to live on, well, we need space. We are lack of space. So at least we won't lose space to the sea. So we battle the sea all the time. We developed a lot of knowledge on this issue and are, I believe, worldwide now to be considered as experts. We have modern architecture. The city of Rotterdam nowadays. Same kind of skyline like Portland, just modern and nowadays. This is our transportation nowadays. We have high-speed lines going from our country south to Paris, east to Germany. So we're a little faster than in the past on our wooden shoes. And this is, well, sorry, a bit of my pride. Our orange nowadays, we play soccer. And not last summer, but the year before, in 2010, lost the World Cup final for the 3rd time. It's a pity. Maybe one day.
You lost it to Spain.
Okay, we'll talk later. Okay, now to some more serious things. Where are we? We are in Northwest Europe. Just realize Europe is only a real small continent, and on this small continent is a real small country. We're opposite, I could use this, they said. Let's see, there's the UK, and we're just opposite the North Sea. And this is a map of our country. From north to south, 200 miles. If you drive on other country. Really, really, really small. And to give you an idea about the United States and the Netherlands, we're both not that old in foundation. We have slightly different numbers of people living in our country. We have a slightly difference in square miles, as you might notice. But what is interesting is we also have a difference in how many people live on a square mile. This is the US. This is the Netherlands. Just to give you an idea, lack of space. Think of this number. More interesting is actually to compare the Netherlands to the state of Oregon. And we can do the numbers again, but actually the most interesting fact is in real small letters down there. The Netherlands is only in size 16% of the state of Oregon. Again, to give you an idea. And in the Netherlands, we have 16 million people on that same small 16% space of the state of Oregon. But since we like to do it more complicated, we decided, okay, of these 16 million people, try again, 10 million only live in this area. Actually, consider the western part of my country as a metropolitan area. This week, I made several times the comparison situation with the metropolitan area of New York City. And there you have an answer to a lot of questions Americans have when they come to the Netherlands. How is it possible that you have this wonderful public transport and we only have 2 trains of Amtrak going to Eugene a day? In the New York metropolitan area, there are subways every minute. And our public transport in the Netherlands is just like that. We have trains running between my city, Utrecht, and Amsterdam, fast trains 6 times an hour. Included are 4 commuter trains an hour. So compare our public transport to what they have in a city like New York, not to a situation in the state of Oregon. Interesting, funny fact in the end is Oregon, Portland, it all was founded somewhere in the 19th century. My city was founded 2,000 years ago. The Romans decide, hey, let's build a fortress here. And nowadays, my city is there. And still, if we start digging in the ground, we find remains of 2,000 years ago. To talk about my city and compare it to Portland, Oregon, you can see the numbers. The city itself is number of people more or less half of Portland. But in the region, we only have 600,000 people. And Portland has above 2 million, as far as the internet is not lying, when I did my research. Square miles. And again, most interesting actually, we're twice as dense as the city of Portland. Again, to give you an idea. About my city. In short, we're the 4th city of the country, but actually it's better to say we're number 1 of the rest. We have 3 major cities, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, The Hague. Then there's a long time nothing. And then we are the biggest of the small cities in the country. Number of inhabitants, talked about it. We have the largest university of the country. And this is interesting because, in general, students are willing to grab a bike. We have a lot of cyclists. Our railway station, main railway station, handles more passengers a year than our national airport. And our national airport is the 4th in Europe, after London, Paris, Frankfurt. It's not a small one. And what is most interesting, for instance, for me, having a job in this city, we have a still growing economy, despite the global recession. We have a highly educated workforce, and this attracts still companies to our city, which is, of course, for the benefit of a lot of things. Model split, always interesting to show. And this is for the region, actually, for our city region. Because when I switch to the next slide, more interesting is, of all trips made in my city, which are no longer than 7.5 kilometers, which is, I have to think about it every time again, some 5 miles, 6 miles, I think. 36% is done by bike, just to give you an idea. The other numbers speak for themselves. It's enormous for who have been to the Netherlands, or more specific to my city. You have seen it. Numbers of bikes. Why we cycle, and why I hope you will even more cycle in the future, is very simple. First of all, of course, being a model city, we also have traffic congestion, just like everywhere. There are still people who try to get by car into the city, like you see on this slide, or picture too. We also, I was talking about about our commuter rail system, about our transportation by train. If you take a look in the morning on our main railway station, it's like Grand Central Terminal in New York, same idea. Loads of passengers are coming, and loads of them grabbing the bus. We only have one light rail line so far in the city, and last year started construction, the second one. Another important reason, if you're living with so many people on such a small area, this starts to become a real serious issue. We don't have the space, we don't have the fresh air as in this part of the world, at least here in Portland. So it's a real challenge to improve quality of life for the people living in our city, in our region, to be honest, nationwide. Thank God these are programs which are coordinated by the national government. It's not only a local issue, it's something we really have to look at the national scale. To give you an idea about solutions which we made so far, and actually no longer are so happy with. This is not in my city, this is in the Rotterdam region. But here's a guy playing in his small backyard, something like basketball, and here's a highway. And just to get rid of the air and noise pollution, we built these kind of fences, but actually that's not the way you like to live in a city. When I cycled 2 days ago across a lot of residential streets in this city, and I saw all the green areas and all those separate houses, it made me think of this boy. He would love to live in Portland, actually. This starts to become, even in the Netherlands, more serious every day. We have a real problem in people who are not that healthy as they should be, actually. These 3 maps show the darker the color, you may understand, the more serious the problem gets. And what we see actually is interesting. The darkest spaces are not in the area where all those 10 million people live. Actually, there's a problem in the more rural areas. I think it's the same in the United States. Living in a city, you might consider not to take the car and to look for an alternative. But just an hour ago, I spoke with a group of students, and one of them was from, what was it, Idaho or Des Moines, or something like that. Okay, thank you. And he told me riding or a distance for 1 mile was done by car. I won't say this is the case in the more rural areas of the Netherlands, but you can imagine there's more of the same idea. You grab your car much faster than living in a city. So this is my advice, but that's no surprise to you. We found out that it only takes 15 to 20 minutes a day to cycle. And when we cycle, I should explain, that's not the way you cycle, at least what I see the last couple of days. You cycle much faster than we do. It's a choice. No, I'm serious about it. It's of course, it's funny to see it the first time, like all those. Okay, but just think of it that in the Netherlands, the average speed is just lower. I think one of the reasons is very clear. If a mom who had to transport a child tries to reach your average speed, I think her little girl will complain. If this police officer will drive as fast as is normal in Portland, he is not able to have a good conversation with his colleague. It's something which I noticed as a major difference, not judging both situations, but it's a major difference. Most people I see on a bike here are on their own. Well, I can tell you, my trips on my bike in my city, I think at least a quarter of it is done with someone else. My daughter, my wife, a colleague, a friend, no matter. And this makes that our average speed is lower. Also, our distances to reach your destination, because we are compact and dense, are much shorter. There's no need to rush, actually. What also is interesting, I hardly see, or actually hardly, I haven't seen, for instance, disabled people on a bike. Or old people. I've seen some kids riding a bike train. We did a visit to a primary school just 2 days ago, and there was this bike train. They were going to a corner of the street, waiting for each other, and then started cycling towards the school, which of course was fun to see and interesting for me. But in the Netherlands, you will see kids everywhere. So that's a major difference. Let's cycle. Another difference. We use the bike as a transport. Of course, you have all these cool bikes which are longer and you can put all kind of stuff. We have what we call the more normal bikes. In the Netherlands, a bike is, might sound strange, it's not cool. This week, I already, before made the comparison situation, a bike is like a hammer. A hammer is not cool. A hammer is a tool. There might be 1 or 2 persons in the world who collect hammers as a hobby, but most people have just a hammer because it's of any use. That's how we use the bike. It doesn't need to be cool. It's something to use. We all use it as transportation. People didn't saw this in Portland so far. Adults on the back of a bike, normal in the Netherlands. There's a kid in, but I presume you have this too. I don't know what's in, but it's likely he's on his way to the main railway station. This is a folding bike, and in the Netherlands you're allowed to carry folding bikes in the public transport. And this businessman carries his suitcase. All kind of people use the bike. Like I said, children. I see less children in the US on a bike. And actually, I hope this will change, because to my personal vision, my personal opinion, those are the future cyclists. Those kids are the future car drivers, but hopefully, because they will keep on cycling as a kid and will like it, they will choose also to cycle in the future. In the Netherlands, car drivers are cyclists and the other way around. It's not that you make a decision, hey, I'm a car driver, or hey, I want to be cool, or for better health, and I choose for the bike. It's whatever you prefer, what's most convenient. First, serious subject. This was all introduction. Integrating the bicycle in transit, in society. This is just a normal average commuter rail station built at the beginning of the 80s. Major construction at this station was this small tunnel. It's the entrance to the platforms. It's also a bicycle tunnel. The bicycle route connects the university, which is over there, and it connects a neighborhood which is on the other side of the tunnel. You add bicycle racks, perfect transportation system. Easy, not complicated, and it works. 4 times an hour, there's a commuter train going downtown to the main railway station. This is our main railway station. It's huge, like I already told you. What is most interesting about it is we are rebuilding it at the moment, because we think it can even be a better transit hub than it already is. Also, we need to rebuild it because the expectations of number of people who will use it is huge. It is said that around the year 2030, the number of passengers passing by this station is doubled. That's because we invest in these kind of things and we don't invest in major highways. Of course, we invest just now and then in highways, but not in a way in the US is used to be the case. We, again, don't have the space just to add more lanes or build a new highway. We make the choice for public transport and the bike. Rebuilding of the existing main hall, but it will be doubled in size. Platform for the train platforms. We add platforms for the city buses and the regional buses. On the other side, a platform for the new light rail system, which we are extending. And changing from one system bus to, for instance, commuter train is really easy. That's how we try to handle these number of passengers. Those people come very often also by bike to this station. So that's why we offer several types of bike parking. People like myself like to park their bike, are willing to pay a few amount, so it's guarded, and I'm sure when I return at night, my bike is still there.
How much?
Sorry?
How much you pay?
About, at the moment it's 110 in euros, so $1.50, something. And if you're getting there on a daily basis, then you have these discounts. But I just do it, I have to use it just once or twice a month, and I'm willing to pay this $1.50. If I think I will save my money, I just can go to this guarded parking, but my bike is outside. There's only 1 or 2 guards for an enormous parking area, so there's still the chance that someone can damage my bike or so. But it's a choice. And we have double stack, double rack bike parking just in about every street around the main station. But think of this only as a situation you would prefer in your Union Station in the far future. This is, of course, not what will be the situation in the short term in Portland. My advice would be try to focus on these kind of solutions. This is in the region, a commuter rail station. And as you can see, we added bike parking. I'm not talking about you should add this number of bike parkings, but at least facilitate bike parking. Do the same at light rail. Do the same at just a local bus stop. A few bike racks will work. And we did the same in the region. On every place where there's public transport, there's bike parking. And we focus on other destinations. Actually, this is my own office. It looks like we have a few bike racks. Well, I can tell you for the people who work in the office, we have a cellar. Just like I was at the office of the city council, and they have these bike parking in the garage. We have the same. A little bit more space for bikes, but the solution is just the same. This is only for visitors. Still important. Someone who needs to be in our office, we offer them a place to park the bike. Local schools, bike parking. Not only for the kids, but only a place where parents can park their bike when bringing their kids to school. This is something very often forgotten. My local grocery, supermarket shop, bike parking on this side, bike parking there. And I put in this arrow to indicate you, if you take a good look, there's a parked car. There's a small residential street across a really small canal. If I want to go to this shop by car, that's as nearest as I can come. With my bike, I almost can enter the shop. So this encourages just to take my bike to the local shop. And in this picture, it's a theater, but it could have been a sports stadium or whatever. On all these destinations, wherever you go in the Netherlands, we add bike parking. Just simple bike parking, not fancy, not cool, not expensive. Oh, sorry. This bike parking is interesting because this was an experiment which bike racks are the best in the city. So we put them in front of our own office. But normally it's just normal bike racks everywhere. I was in Washington DC at the beginning of this week, and they have this public bicycle program. Wherever you go in that city, you saw those bikes parked. To my personal opinion, those bikes were there for tourists, for maybe a few residents who thought, I might grab a bike once. If you go to the Netherlands, if you go to my city, you hardly will find these kind of parking of bike parking with public bicycles there. If you need a public bike in the Netherlands, you have to go to a major transit hub, our main railway station. And I explain why. In the Netherlands, like I told you, we have 16 million people, and we have 18 million bikes. I don't need a public bike in my own city. I have my own bike. What I do is I ride my own bike to my main railway station, I park my bike, I take a train to Amsterdam, and there, on the station, I need a bike. So it becomes a kind of transit chain without needing a car. And I can go everywhere. Like I said, 6 trains an hour. That's what you can say. Freedom of choice. Don't need to look at the clock at what time the train is going. I just can go there and grab a train. In my own city, I have my own bike, which is the biggest freedom you can have. I can go wherever I like, cycle fast to be in the main railway station, take it slow down, whatever I like. And again, in Amsterdam, there's a bike. I can go wherever I like, not independent, depending on whatsoever. So our public bicycle program, which is nationwide, is related to public transport. It's not only public transport, it's not only public bicycle program, but in particular, it's connecting them. Only 10 minutes. I thought, I'm in real trouble. Because the other subject is even longer. I will try to hurry. This is integration. We have a national website. I'll add my destination, and it will give at any time how to travel by public transport, including the trains which are not riding because of construction or delays or whatsoever. It's all there. We start to have a electronic travel card. I saw this in Washington, but it was for metro and bus. This is for the whole country. I have such a pass in my wallet. I can leave my house whenever I like, and I can travel. No need to buy tickets or whatsoever. Like I told you, we're allowed to take folding bikes in the train. A normal bike during rush hour, not allowed. Lack of space, too many people in it. Outside the rush hour, you're allowed to take your normal bike, but you have to pay. And it's almost the same as you have to pay for yourself. So leave the bike at home and rent one in Amsterdam. I'll skip this, just because of time. Just to show you, go to the internet, take, for instance, one of the major stations in The Hague, and you will get all information you need. Bike parking, guarded bike parking, places where I can load, put money on my travel card. Let's see if it works. Tram stops, bus stops, it's all there. Make it really approachable, all the information for the people. This is the long subject. I'll try to do it really fast. I'm sorry, we have to. My personal belief, it's totally different than integrating this system. Now we are going to talk about cycling residential streets. Direct relation between increase of numbers of cyclists and road safety. My belief is the more bikes you have in the street, the safer it is. You become more stronger against all those cars. Yesterday in Eugene, there was a situation that I was cycling with a group, and when I'm on my own, I'm just alone on my bike, and all those big American cars are just around me. But when we were together as a group again, and we stopped at an intersection, and we had to wait for a red traffic light, there wasn't installed such a bike box. You have those in Portland too. But still, because the whole group was standing in front of a car, it felt perfectly safe. We were stronger than that car. If there were the light turns to green, that car wouldn't just put the pedal down and run, because we were in front of it. So the more bikes, the safer it is. That's my personal opinion. Most of you might know him. He was in the Netherlands 2 years ago, went to a show of him. He had a joke. Just read it. It seems like a joke, and later on I thought, he has a point. Okay. Point is, if you cycle in the Netherlands, it's perfectly safe. If a car is getting to you really close, that's no problem at all. Because that car driver, just now and then, is a cyclist too. He knows what my behavior is as a cyclist. And I know what the behavior of the car driver is in the Netherlands. Because we are both. So you can be in the streets together, just close to each other, without feeling afraid. Dutch road types. The top I'll skip because of time. I'll just focus on what our residential streets are. We have residential streets in our rural areas. They are not meant for through traffic, but to facilitate entrance to farms and these kind of things. As you might notice, we add bike lanes to it. In particular, we do this to narrow the space for the cars. This is not wide enough for 2 cars. If 2 cars are approaching, they must drive along this bike lane. But our experience is this solution reduces speed enormously. In cities and villages, we have 2 types. This is more or less like your residential street, a raised pavement, and a speed, which is more or less the same. What we also have is, if I use the word woonearth, most of you will understand, hopefully. Woonearth, what is the difference is from this side of the street to the other side, it's all on one level. And actually, there's no official dedicated space in here for the car, except parking. Parking is dedicated by a small stone with a P of parking on it. There you're allowed to park your car. The rest of the space is space to live on, and the car is a guest. This is arranged by law. So my kid could play outside in this street. And to be honest, it works. This is what you might call a good example of shared space. It's not only transportation, it's about social behavior in your own street. And then we have different types of cycle path. The only difference between the one on the left and the one in the middle on one side and this one, if you see a sign like this when you're cycling in the Netherlands, you must cycle on the bicycle path. If you see a sign like this, you may choose for the bicycle path, but you're also allowed, for instance, to cycle on the left-hand side. It's just to give you an idea, because what we now will do in, I think, only less than 5 minutes, is we cycle a route in my city. Here starts the built-up area. This is more or less rural area. And what I will show you is just by slides how the view, how the type of roads change constantly, and still it is an ongoing, direct bike route, like I experienced, 5 minutes, there we go. Like I experienced 2 days ago when cycling here in Portland across all these residential streets with the sharrows. It's a kind of same trip. So I decided, I asked my wife, get up your bike, I will cycle behind you, we take a couple of pictures and I can use them. Well, it's not of any use. This is the Netherlands, just like Oregon. We have rainy days. So I waited for 2 days, found a friend of mine, and we start all over again. Sunshine. A rural street. Here there are no specific bike lanes, like I showed you in that small picture before, but for the rest it's just the same type of route. Approaching the city, you already can see some built structures, offices. There's suddenly a cycle route. The rural road is dividing to the left, going somewhere else. For the cyclist, it's really easy. You enter the cycle path. You continue, cross a major highway on this dedicated pedestrian and bicycle bridge, and you arrive in a neighborhood. Actually, it's my own neighborhood. And I have to explain, he is pointing out which direction he goes. It's because I asked him, because it makes clear on the picture he's going there. Normally in the Netherlands you don't indicate where to go. You don't stop for a red traffic light. You you cycle on the side of the streets you prefer and absolutely don't indicate where you go. He continues. There's a parking zone around the housing areas. Then he makes a left-hand turn, enters a residential street. Difference between Portland and my city: all your streets in asphalt or concrete, most of ours in brickstones. To my personal opinion, because of the noise, this reduced speed, but it's up to you if you like to change this in the future. Then suddenly he approaches a circular ring road in my neighborhood. He has to wait here. There are no signs indicating he has to stop. You have your yield sign. Normally we should place it in a situation like this, but because of this structure, it's arranged by law that all traffic approaching this street should stop. So we don't need to put in an extra road sign. We create these kind of structures. He crosses the street, short stretch of a bicycle path. Here there's another residential street. Imagine just in front of the screen is that intersection. If I want to go by car from this spot to park there, I have to drive all the way around. That's how this neighborhood is built up. I hope I can make it clear by saying it's a kind of what we call cauliflower structure. You have small entrances to neighborhood areas. If you want to be in the next housing neighborhood area, you have to drive around on a circular road. What we do for the bikes is we make short connections between these housing areas. So there's a direct route to the next housing area. You will see, and I will do it really fast because of the time. It's all the time during this neighborhood, piece of cycle path, residential street, cycle path, and so on. Entering the street, cycle path, entering the street. Actually, this is a woonerf. Cars on the same level as the street. Again, a cycle path. This time it turns into a parking spot, part of a direct cycle route out of town to the downtown area. It's just possible. Use these kind of spaces. Normal residential street. In the end, residential street turns to the right. This is the same circular road he crossed before, but on this side there's more traffic, so we built this bridge you can pass under. Entering a park zone. This is, because lack of time I can't explain, but mixed traffic, kind of shared space, where the bike is number one in favor of the car. It's a choice. Bicycle path. It's getting a bit bored, but it shows you all the short stretches which in total make a perfect bicycle route. He's the old city center, has to make a right turn on what your future Hawthorne Avenue might look like. I'm a bit joking about this because we had a discussion about this before. But this is, as an extra information, this is a route my daughter of 12 years old cycled to her junior high school, is the name, what you call it, every day. In the Netherlands, it's possible. I'm not afraid as a dad. It works perfectly. Make a left-hand turn. Small problem. In the bicycle path, there's a tree. And since we take care of our green areas, no matter how small, the tree is still there. Entering the downtown area, and just have an idea, this is how narrow our streets are. This is actually one which is a bit more wider because we had the space to put in a bike lane in the opposite direction. But this is the space we have to deal with. As you might notice, the car is parked here for loading or unloading. He's not standing more close to the road surface because he is a jerk. He hasn't no possibility to go more to the right because there's a small pedestrian area and then there are shops. It's just enormous narrow. And this is the end of the tour, really downtown. Biggest church tower in the Netherlands. Go to my city. You will love it. Thank you. Okay.
Remember to use the microphones to ask the questions.
Okay. I'll start from left and go to right, if that's fine with you. So.
About wearing a bicycle helmet. I didn't see anyone in photographs wearing a bicycle helmet. So just what are your thoughts on that compared to the U.S.?
This question asked every time I'm speaking with people from abroad, Europeans, Americans. Don't tell someone in the Netherlands what to do. I was explaining on a bike, red traffic light. Don't tell me to stop. I will judge myself. It's the same with the helmet. The number of injured people indicate in the Netherlands that a helmet is not of any extra value. Otherwise, people will do it. As an example to compare, we use the safety belt in cars because we are aware that will save lives, my own life. We have the feeling that the bike helmet is not needed. I can't give you the answer why. It's just a feeling, and I'm convinced that if it would be for the benefit, people will do it. But we think in the Netherlands, we're with a lot of bikes. Remember this. The enormous numbers of bikes create a position. A bike is more important in the Netherlands than a car. Not only by law, but just experience it in the streets. Might be weird to if you haven't been there, but bikes with an enormous number of bikes, you have some power. So, okay? In the front.
Can tricycles or bicycles with strollers or trailers attached, can they be easily stored in these bicycle parks, or what's been done to improve this?
Okay. The question, what to do when the bike is not just a normal Dutch bike, but for instance a bakfiets, or that's the question, right? Let me first tell you, and some already know, I don't like the bakfiets. Two reasons. One, the people who drive it. In the Netherlands, it's the moms with 2 kids in front, mobile phone, and not paying attention to all. And since I'm really involved in road safety and road safety programs, those moms are not a good example for their kids. That's reason number one. But the other reason is exactly the answer you're looking for. These bikes ask for different solutions in parking places, in space and whatsoever. And just remember the pictures I showed of our main railway station, at least the bike parking there. We are talking about so many bikes. And for instance, a bakfiets needs at least twice as much parking space. So lack of space, problems. Actually, we have a major problem in bike parking in our city. There are situations, nice example, a primary school just near my house where my daughter went. Remember that neighborhood? And I explained to you we had a kind of circular road. People who live inside the area of the circular road are yearly asked to bring their kid not by bike because of the parking problem. Just leave your bike home is the message. It's strange to imagine, but this all has to do with lack of space. So, answer to your question, we are not encouraging introduction of big, long bikes. It's a problem. Yes, there was someone.
So since your visit to Portland and your observation that you had, I want to know if you get a project to design a plan for Portland for another 10 years to increase the ridership possible, what are the main steps that you're going to take?
Advice number one, by far, which I gave the last couple of days, and just imagine yesterday I was in Eugene, which is also very interesting. So I have already 2 cities who are cycling a lot on an American state. My first advice would be stick to your own plan. Interesting pictures of the Netherlands, but take your time to get there. It needs so much. So stick to your own plan by, for instance, what I think is wonderful in Portland. I'm a bit jealous about it. The number of residential streets you have. You have a much higher percentage of residential streets than we do. And as you might noticed, I showed you a cycle route in my city only using residential streets. You have a wonderful, quiet, safe network of streets to build a perfect network so people can go everywhere. In the past, I was asked from people from all kinds of countries, hey, let's have the next question. I have a bag of money, $1 million or €1 million. What's the best to do with it? Invest in 3 covered, sheltered bike parkings or a bicycle bridge? Those questions made me start thinking of what to do with this money. Suppose I was the one who made the decision. My answer would be invest in simple solutions like routes along your residential streets. I've seen these routes with the sharrows, and there's hardly any opposition against it because you have the space. You don't have to take out the cars in favor of a bike because this enlarges the chance of an argument. Use this network and try to keep on with extending this network. If it works, people will start cycling, and then later on go for the more difficult parts. Today we had a discussion about implementing bike facilities at Hawthorne Avenue, is it? I shouldn't invest in that right now. Do this in the second phase, as a second step, because you will get a lot of opposition. Still, you're not able to make a solution which is perfectly safe. So there will be cyclists who will criticize it. Focus on the easy network, then go to the more difficult questions. That's what I would do if I was allowed to decide what to do with your money. Yes?
We have one question from the web. Is there a problem with any bicycle congestion on any of these routes?
Yes, absolutely. I try to look for a picture which shows, it was really in the beginning, I believe. We have major problems with the numbers of cyclists on, you might, no, there's a better picture. Is it the first one? I'm afraid to. This is the one I was looking for. Many bikes. There are bikes in between. More are approaching. And there's lack of space. This is not how we want our cyclists to wait for a traffic light. So yes, we have major problems with the enormous flows of bikes. And to give another example, just a few times a week I cycle together with my wife to her office, and we have to cross actually this route further on downtown. And it's awful because we have to cross this enormous stream of cyclists. Actually, this is the main route from the main railway station to the university. So yes is the answer. Hopefully you're able to design your city in a way you can cope with this problem before it's there.
There are worse problems to have.
In front and later on.
Thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome.
I'm interested to know if there is any effort.
Could you use the microphone, please?
I'm using microphone.
Okay, thanks.
I bend down. Is there any effort for a unified solution in EU?
How to answer? The Netherlands has, together with Denmark, a kind of weird special position. I think it's not wise to look on the issue of cycling and using transport on a European Union scale. It might be wise, for instance, for people from the United States not to focus on the Netherlands, maybe to focus on it just to give an idea what is achievable in the end, but realize that, for instance, a country as Germany is more close to the situation in the US than close to the situation in the Netherlands and Denmark. Also today in the meeting I had before I arrived here, someone told me she was traveling from from Frankfurt to the Netherlands, and sitting in this high-speed train, she noticed when she entered the Netherlands, there was no sign, there was no...
You're okay.
Okay. There was no sign indicating the Netherlands. There was not something like the border drawn in the fields. She noticed suddenly the enormous amounts of bikes. I can't explain why people living only half a mile from each other, one has a Dutch passport and the other one has a German passport, the Dutch guy is cycling and the German person not. It's something I'm so curious about, but so the answer to your question is, don't focus on the European Union. We are just like the United States. In the north, it's a bit different than in the south, as I understood. Yes?
So does the Netherlands try to separate bus routes and cyclists, or I know some countries have combined paths that cyclists and buses can use, and what's the interaction like?
Simple answer is yes, we do, but it depends on the situation. Are we talking about one bus line with 6 city buses an hour? Then we just combine it without any specific dedication for bikes or buses or cars. It's just a street and they are there. And what normally is the situation, if a bus uses the bus stop, a car will wait behind it, and a Dutch cyclist, I explained already before, it goes everywhere. If the number of buses increase, you have a total different situation. The right answer to your question is there is no rule for it. When to separate, when not. It depends on the local situation. All these local solutions make together a good bicycle route. But it is of no use writing down how we should do it and say, hey, this is it. It's simply not possible. The solutions are out on the street. You have to go outside, take a look, and think about what is best. Yes?
question because we are at 1 o'clock. So
And the decision is hopefully not mine. Who is
Okay,
last?
So who thinks they have a really cool question? Oh, did I scare you? Okay, Jesse.
Okay.
Is there a culture of fast cyclists? You know, people that aspire to want to be the Tour de France, and it's encouraged by parents or clubs, similar to the culture of football, say in the Netherlands.
Yes, we have a culture of fast bikes, but it's totally different from our bike system. It's something like, my child plays volleyball, but she also could have made the decision, hey dad, hey mom, I want to be in a cycle thing to learn speed cycling. So yes, we have it. You hardly will not see it during rush hours or on a normal weekday. In particular, you will notice it in the weekend. At the same moment, you Americans go out in the forest on your mountain bike. We Dutch people do this, or go on a fast bike and have a tour of more than 100 miles or something like that. In the weekend, we also use the bike like we do just during week time, going out with my wife and my daughter and cycle in our speed, our average speed. So yes, we have this culture. We had two guys who won the Tour de France actually a long time ago. So we have a culture in it, but not combined with the daily use of the bike. That's totally different than what you see here in Portland. Okay.
I want to thank you very much. Thank again the City of Portland also for making this happen. Thank you.
You're welcome.